Yes, y'all. You are listening to another episode of Klyph Notes. Comes to you. All right, so I was trying to schedule it where it was going to be like once a month thing, and then I had some cool interviews, and it was like I got two in a month. So I ain't going to schedule it. Like, it's going to come to you whenever we have a really, really good interview. And today's like a pretty dope one. So I'm kind of psyched. Remember, you can subscribe. You can catch it anywhere that you listen to your podcast: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio. But if you just go to the website www.djklyph.com, that's probably the best way to get links to every place that it's available. And also remember that you can catch Welcome to the Neighborhood on X-Ray FM every Saturday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where you'll hear new music, classics, artist interviews, in-studio rhyme sessions, all kinds of fun stuff. So definitely check me out on X-Ray FM. Shout out to X-Ray FM for supporting the local Portland scene. And then, of course, I'm all over social media at DJ Klyph, at DJ KLYPH. If this is your first time listening to Klyph Notes, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to some of the other episodes. I've had the opportunity to do some interviews with some pretty amazing people: DJ OG1, Star Child, Homeboy Sandman, Robo, a whole bunch of stuff. So go back and check those out too. And hit me up, man. Let's build just continue to build this community. This one's special for a number of reasons. One, because this is the first return guest of the Klyph Notes podcast. So I'm pretty psyched about that.
Hey.
And me and this cat kind of go back a ways. And it's real special to have him here and to actually have him here in Portland. So without any further ado, my man, let him know who you are.
Skinny man Tope in the building. Iced coffee drinker. Cheesecake avid lover. Actually, I don't even like cheesecake that much, but definitely iced coffee drinker. Yeah, Tope.
How you doing, bro?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for being here,
It's good
bro.
to see you, dude.
It's kind of crazy because, like, you've been away for a while.
Yeah, it's like coming up on, I think it's 2 years in April.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy.
It's happened so quickly.
And the last time that we had an opportunity to sit down and do this, like, you were packing up your apartment.
Yeah, I remember I was kind of like telling you that I was like either two things are gonna happen this year, but in either way, whatever happens, it was gonna like change my situation, and that was either I was gonna sign to Iris, or I was gonna move to Oakland, Of course I moved to Oakland.
Yeah.
And so that was the last time. It was kind of like I had this like secret inside that I couldn't really tell anyone, because I don't think at that point I was still kind of like up in the air with what I was gonna do. And so it was. But I feel like it's funny because every single time I feel like we sit down and talk, something crazy happens right afterwards.
Yeah.
And then there's like another year, and then we have to catch up on like all this stuff, because like even. I think last time we had like an interview before Trouble Man. We had an interview right after BBS, and like so much stuff jumped off in between those two episodes.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy to just see the moves that you've made, and how much has happened in the last time that we met. It's funny that you mentioned that, because now that you say that, I don't even remember what the circumstances was. I feel like it was, for some reason, I feel like we were at KZME. It was like after the broadcast, and we were just sitting around chopping it up. And you were like, yo, my friend Blossom asked me to come up and do something in the studio.
Oh yeah,
at
at Martell's.
And I was like, what?
And that was before the label. They had even kicked around the label. Yeah.
Yep. It's just kind of crazy how things, how things happen.
Yeah, it is. So it's like I was really, like around that whole situation kind of early, and didn't really even know what the situation was. Right.
Yeah, so. And now to see, again, just to see the growth, your growth as an artist, the many things that you've done even outside of being a performing artist.
Yeah.
And then looking at, like you were the first. I didn't even know who Blossom was until you mentioned her to me.
Yeah.
And now to see,
man, super proud of her.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
She's such an amazing human being, man, which is so dope.
That's real. Like her energy is like undeniable. And I think that's why like so many people, when you meet her, are attracted to her, because she just has like a undescribable like energy. I was telling my friend the other night, she practices voodoo, but she like puts that voodoo on you. But it's like good voodoo.
Right.
No, but she just has good energy, man. And that's something that has attracted to me to her from the beginning, like you know, through working with her musically and everything. Just a good person.
Yeah,
Good heart.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Chopping up with my man Tope. So you made the move down to Cali, and man, again, just so much has happened in the time that you've been away.
It's crazy.
I don't even know where to begin, bro. I guess
I like forget how much, you know, it seems like it's only 2 years, but then when sometimes I have to recap of like everything that has happened since I moved, and I just like forget everything that even I've done like in the last couple years, or in just like the stuff that's happened in Portland. And like,
Yeah.
man, it seems like it's been a really busy 2 years of like a lot of growth for a lot of people,
Yeah.
you know, like in the scene, for you, for me, for everyone. A lot of people are taking major steps,
Yeah.
and that's good to see.
Well, answer me this. So, as someone who really grew as an artist here in Portland and
Yeah.
then moved away, what was it like for you going to California, being an artist from Portland?
Scary at first, because I went down by myself. Like my sister lives in Oakland, but as far as like having any artist connections or anything like that, it was I pretty much jumped into it by myself, and really had like bought a ticket to go see my sister in the first place, just to go visit. And the way things were kind of like going in my life at that time, and I just had always been talking about moving, I pretty much just didn't get on the plane back, and was like, I'm gonna stay, and made that decision pretty much on a whim, you know, and probably could have done a better job of making that move. But it was a little bit scary, but also, you know, I like had the confidence in myself, in my music, and in my live show to know that like if you put me in front of an audience full of people wherever I'm at, like I'm gonna win them over. I'm gonna do my best to win them over. And I think just being thrown in so many situations in Portland of like playing the awkward rock shows when I was signed to Amiga, or opening for artists that I didn't necessarily fit on the bill, or artists that I did, or, you know, always being like an opening artist on tour too. It just made me really develop my crowd control and live show, and like know how to kind of survey the audience and be able to like take them over, or, you know, to the best of my ability. So there was that part too. It was like scary, but also at the same time I felt like I believed in my package and my music, and knew that like I was still am kind of a one-man machine, and if I can combine forces with the right people, it could really be something crazy. But just being self-sufficient enough to like know that I can move.
Where we may have talked about this before, but where does that come from? The fact that you have done so much independently.
Man, I think just kind of like, I think it started out with Living Proof, and just us not, you know, we did the first album with Sapient because we knew we were fans of Sapient first off, but we also, it was a strategic move because we knew that Sapient was one of the most popular producers in the Northwest, so we knew that that would instantly kind of catapult us into a certain spotlight. And then on the second album, we just couldn't afford to buy beats from Sapient. And I think he was a little upset at the deal that we had locked him into for the first album.
Yeah.
Because he was a little bit hungrier at that time. This is like MySpace time I'm talking about. So it strictly started from just not being able to afford beats. And I was like, man, I'm gonna start making beats, and shout out to my friend Devin, who he, you know, like showed me the basics on Reason, and that's kind of where it started from. And I think it just kind of like from there blossomed, you know, into like I want to make my own flyers, and having failed relationships with managers turned into me wanting to do my own booking, make sure, you know, take care of my own business, take care of my own money, no one else is in my pocket. Kind of just trial and error, you know, like and maybe to my own degree of like not trusting other people and just wanting to do it myself too, you know, to my own like benefit or demise, like just trust being a little bit of a factor. But just also being a creative person too. I want to learn how to do all the stuff. Like if I could shoot my own videos and edit them, like I would, like, because that's super tight to me. I've always felt like I've directed all the videos, or helped direct a lot of the videos I've been in. And just, I guess, just the urge for creativity. Like I like design and I like video editing and I love photography and I love music, and like those are all things I'm passionate about, but I've never like learned how to do any of that from anyone else, so I just kind of like watched other people and trial and error and like figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just kind of felt like you had to be that. No one else is going to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
I've always been a believer of like no one cares about your dream more than you do. So
It's funny because when I have conversations with people, your name often comes up. I don't know, maybe I'm the one who's typically bringing it up in terms of an individual who has done that with their career, who has done so much of their marketing or their promotion themselves. And I feel like in the Northwest, based on the people that I have been connected with, I think two of the people who stand out the most are you and Sape. So it's interesting that you mentioned him.
yeah,
Because I look at how long he's been doing music, the way that he's done it,
yeah,
from recording, mixing, mastering, and artwork, booking tour. I mean, it's essentially what you just described.
yeah. And I mean, to that degree, I can't compare my artwork to Sape, because like Sape, ever since we were like teenagers and like just young, his art has always been special.
Yeah.
And whether it's his drawing or his music or just his humor, like we don't have that as a relationship like we used to, or like even talk like we used to, but Sape was definitely an early influence, and like his art is he's just an artistic person.
Yeah.
And I can't say that like later in my career I was looking at Sape as a model, but now that you say that, it's like totally makes sense. And he's been able to like just take it to another level with that creativity, and that's something that's amazing. So shout out to Sapient for sure. And it's like, I feel like he's kind of a name that gets lost in the shuffle a lot. Like it's like he's able to go tour, make money, have 17 kids. I don't know how many kids he has now, have a lot of kids, and like provide for his family. And that's something that's amazing that like a lot of artists are striving for, but we don't ever like, not to any disrespect, but I just haven't even like, people don't throw Sape's name around enough. He doesn't get enough credit. And he's also a person that's not like, I need my credit. He's like in the cut, cool. Like just seems like he's not tripping. Like he seems to be happy where he's at, and that's dope.
I would 100% agree, man. I think as anytime you hear conversations about Portland, the Portland scene getting more recognition from outside of Portland, I think that I would agree. Sape's name is definitely one that doesn't get mentioned enough, and that's why for me it's such a blessing to have the platforms that I have, so that I can make sure that people get heard.
Yeah, I will say this, when I've done my little indie tours, like the little tours I've done, his name does come up in that circuit because he hits those tours, and like you kind of meet these little touring acts in the cities that know other people that come around, and in that circle, people are definitely like, oh, save me, because he's done such a great job of being able to go independent and do these tours for like years, and his name comes up when I'm out of town a lot. I'll say that for sure. Yeah.
So you made the move down to California. You just continued in that vein, like I'm gonna just do this.
Yeah.
Kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
The getting in California. Getting down there and like, all right, where do I go? Like, how do I get shows? How do I make connections? What's that process specifically been like?
It's been kind of like a reset button. You got to start from the ground up. It's interesting because when I first moved down there, of course, I was looking at, the shows that I would play in Portland, the bigger shows, and submitting to like the bigger venues, and a lot of the performance stuff in the Bay I've noticed is like pretty much pay to play, so they want you to buy onto the show, sell tickets, that type of thing. So that was really popular, and that's not something I've never really done in Portland.
Yeah.
But I completely 100% understand from a business side of like how that works. But for me as an artist, and I think it kind of robs the local scene of like the true talents rising to the top, where it just becomes the people who have enough friends or who can sell the tickets and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily always work that way, but I think for the most part, in my experiences, it's like the higher up you go, it's like the worse the artist is type of thing on the pay to play scale.
Right, right.
So that was one thing I kind of had to I had to humble myself. You know, shout out to Kendrick Lamar. I had to sit down and be humble and start over and just meet some of the local artists and tap in with some of the local shows. Or they have this thing called Return of the oh my gosh, RLTC, Return of the Cipher,
Uh-huh.
at the in San Francisco, and it's like every Sunday night. And it's first when someone first told me about it, I was like, that doesn't sound like fun. They're like, yeah, all the rappers from San Francisco come. It's a big cipher,
Oh, word.
blah blah blah. And I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know. That doesn't really sounds a little rapidy.
Yeah.
I get there and it's like packed out with like people watching, people who aren't rappers just watching, a live band, DJs, MCs going back and forth. It was like one of the dopest experience I'd ever like seen, reminiscent of the old Dookie Jam, like the
Word.
old Dookie Jam, but with a bigger audience.
Okay.
And for the most part, just rappers. And even the first time I went, I don't even think I rapped. I just kind of like sat back and I had a couple people I knew there and sat back and just watched. And second, third, fourth time, I definitely got up and rapped, and it was really cool. And like people are just from there started to meet a lot of people and network. And my experience is like every time I've gone out and like shown my music to people and performed, like I get love.
Yeah.
It's just finding the right opportunities to do that. And I think maybe I've just been like stubborn about going out and like doing smaller stuff than I want to do type of thing, but I know that I need to. Like it's like when you first start out doing a new business, you're like you used to say you have to do a lot of free work to build up your clientele, and it's kind of like that in San Francisco. It's like I got to go do some free shows and like all this stuff that wasn't used to doing in the Northwest, but it's all good. It's like it's humbled myself and like kind of challenged myself into like why I want to do this. Like, okay, if I really want to do it, I got to dig in now and like prove myself.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Man. So you get down there and you're starting to build your connections and starting to meet people and see what direction you want to go in. And the more people that you meet who find out that you're from Portland, what's the view of the Portland scene in California?
Well, there's like this. Well, everyone. First off, every single person that I meet is like, why did you move down here? Like, even the people in there, like, everyone's moving up to Portland. Why did you move down to the Bay? Like, you're from Portland? Why did you move here?
Yeah.
Like, if I had, like, $1 for every time someone asked me that question, I'd be balling.
Yeah.
And there's also this thing kind of like, this Oakland card. Like, if you're not from Oakland, you're not really going to get in. Like, it's like, if you're not really, you're from Portland? Oh, okay.
Right.
It's like, if you're not really in, you're not really in.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not town, you're not town.
Yeah.
Where Portland, I think, is more like, come on. Oh, you live here? Oh, you're from Portland now.
Right.
You've always been, it's like, but the Oakland's like, where are you from? Where in This is what the first question everyone asks. What part of Oakland you from? What part of That's the question. What part of Oakland you from? Like, it's like that, even that is checking you like, oh, you live by the lake? Oh, you're not really official.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what part of the town are you from?
Yeah.
And I think like people are starting to definitely catch on to the Portland scene because of like our artists that are starting to break out. But I think there's still like a genuine kind of like confusion a little bit because people it's not as legendary as LA and Oakland and Houston and stuff like that. I think there's still a little bit of confusion of like, what does it sound like up there, or how would you describe the music and stuff like that. So it's been interesting. People just kind of like look at like are like curious why I moved down type of thing.
Yeah. It's funny because I can remember when I first started doing radio here, and I don't remember who it was, but I was asking an artist like, what is the Northwest sound? And I can remember an artist saying the Northwest sound was kind of like the Bay sound. And I think that's probably indicative of youth and growth and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think, there were a lot of artists from the Bay who would come up here and tour. So artists who were developing in Portland were sort of trying to capture that. Now, and as a curator of music, I mean, I think I sort of have my sense, but as an artist who came up here, and now you know you still have your hand on the pulse of Portland.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you think do you think the Portland sound has been developed yet, or are we still working on that?
Oh, still working on it.
Yeah.
And I would say that Portland doesn't sound anything like the Bay. I think that rumor is the worst rumor ever. Because there's something about Bay music that is Bay music that it just differentiates it from the rest of the world.
Right.
And when you're in Oakland, you like kind of get that. Same with trap music in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's like same with Dom Kennedy and Nipsey Hussle and Kendrick Lamar in LA. It's
Right.
like there's something about, and even the spirit of hyphy music that's like still alive down there, that it differentiates it from Portland sound ever. And I think that people, and even maybe I've said, but I will say this: I think there was a time when hyphy music did really influence the West Coast in general, Seattle, Portland, because it's so close, and because maybe we didn't have our own identity of our own scene,
Right.
that we kind of adopted this thing. I always felt like Seattle wanted to be Oakland, for like even the way they call it the town and
Yeah.
all, like it's the town, but
Yeah.
but wait, that's the town. The Oakland's the town, you
Right.
know. So it's
Right.
like I've always seen that influence. And I think it's hard to I can't describe Portland sound,
Yeah.
but there is a unique flavor here,
Mhm.
and I don't know how to put my finger on the pulse of it, you know, because it's always developing. And I think that's one of the good things of Portland is it's been a melting pot of sounds.
Mhm.
You can take influence from a lot of other places and make it sound how you want to sound.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it to other people. I'm like, there's so many different rappers in Portland. There's so many different sounds. It's like whatever you like, you could find. There's like Golden Age. There's like, you know, just boom bap. There's trap rappers. There's abstract artists. There's like new wave. There's starting to become more singers and stuff, you know. And I think that's one of the beauties of Portland.
Yeah.
That it isn't categorized. 'Cause in the Bay, it's like it's almost not stereotypical, but like I said, it has its own flavor. And it's like I can hear a beat and the way like the bass line and some of the drums are laid, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of a Bay slap.
Yeah.
Like just people in the Bay are very like they rep their own like real hard, you
Yeah.
know. So I'm
Yeah.
like this is Bay Area music. I can always tell. And
Yeah.
Portland, I think that's kind of cool. You can't really tell.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know where that sound is coming from. And I think that's something we should embrace.
It's
I
interesting
think it's
because
okay.
yeah, it is. It's interesting though because I think when you look at the history of hip hop and you think about different, there was a time where hip hop from New York was very much from New York, but then you could break it down even further to borough, where it would sound different based on borough.
Yeah.
But then hip hop from the South was very much the South. But then you could break it out to Miami, which had a huge New York influence, and then Atlanta, which sounded different from Houston.
Yeah.
But I think all of those things, and then what you're describing about the Bay, but I think all of those things to me were really indicative of the area that they came from, where it wasn't, the music was really about the environment. And I think that fed into the music.
Yeah.
And I think in Portland, I think that's something that we're still kind of teasing out.
For sure.
You know, what is this environment?
Yeah. It's changing. It's changing so much. Like there was a period of when I felt like a lot of the hip hop coming from Portland and the Northwest was like dark and like kind of depressed. Like no shots to anyone, but like the Sand People, Gray School, Old Dominion era was like dark and abstract and like different. And then even when we started like Living Proof, I felt like was kind of like on a really minor scale, but a breath of fresh air where we kind of had like party theme songs or like feel good hip hop, you know, and like I don't know, it's kind of everything now, you know.
Yeah, you're right. I think you can get a little bit of whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
The influence of that has also created some challenges, I think, here in Portland in terms of a disconnect in the artists.
Yeah.
So being an outsider moving into Portland, that was one of the things that when I started getting out and meeting people, that was real evident to me. And I think it's like that. It's like this everywhere, but that there were groups,
Clicks.
cliques.
Yeah.
There truly were cliques.
Yeah.
And I think there was a time we went through a time where I felt like that was sort of going away. Where you really saw people kind of coming together to build the scene as a whole. And I think for the most part, I think that still exists here, where people are supporting one another as a whole, trying to support the scene.
Yeah.
But I think that there are still factions where that's not necessarily the case. And understand that, it's hip hop, so it's about competition.
Yeah.
It's about braggadocio. It's about, one-upsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Being an artist who if I can remember your career path here in Portland, I mean, you were sort of a part of that movement that was kind of embracing, that was supporting.
Yeah.
So then moving down to California, how did that experience here in Portland impact you musically down in the Bay? And I asked that because I think it might have been an interview that I did with Hanif when he left Portland and went to New York. And we were talking about the fact that he had to do so much of his own stuff, book his own shows, create his own flyers, do his own marketing, promotion, all of that. That when he went to New York, he's like, well, I know how to do all this stuff because I had to do it before.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it kind of gave him a little bit of an edge over people who don't know how to do that because you experienced that and went through this in Portland.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree. I wasn't sure how to answer that question, but yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Yeah. So it's funny because it's interesting to me because when I think of you as an artist, like if I were to pull up your catalog right now, there's a couple of projects out there, but it feels like there's so much more music out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because of the stuff that you did as a solo artist and then the stuff that you did with T&E, and then you haven't done a lot of features, but you've done a couple.
Yeah, I've done some features, yeah.
It feels like there's a lot more music than there actually is.
Yeah. Well, even like the last 2 years of only putting out 4 songs, and that feels crazy to say. It's like I've only put out 4 songs in the last 2 years, but been very like relevant still, it's not like I've completely disappeared. But when you add it up, it's like 2 Living Proof albums, 4 T&E projects.
Yes. There's Trouble Man. There's what was the first? Soul
Music, Trouble Man, Until the Next Time We Meet, Since the Last Time We Spoke, Broke Boy Syndrome,
right.
Free Lemonade 1 and 2, New Kick. If you want to count all that stuff.
Right.
The New Kicks, the 4 T&E albums, 2 Living Proof albums, productions for like ton of people,
right,
collabs, and like on to the new stuff I'm working on now, chicken free, whatever that one, chicken wings and ice cream, little stuff like that. So it's just like in videos and like being strategic in the way I promote my stuff. I feel like, it's funny to say I have all this music and then I feel like I don't know if I have a definitive, I think Trouble Man and Broke Boy Syndrome are my 2 albums that are like my definitive albums. But at the same time, I'm like, sometimes I would toy with the idea of just deleting everything off the internet, all my music, and just like kind of.
Like starting fresh?
Yeah. Or keeping those 2 albums and like deleting the rest of it. Like just kind of like starting fresh, or like sometimes I feel like I have too much music out there, in a way.
So it's funny that like I have that perspective, and then but when you break it down like that, no, actually there's a lot of music.
There's a lot of music,
yeah. And
there's so much, and no disrespect, but there's a lot of T&E songs I've like completely forgotten about. Like if I were to go back and listen to an album, and like I'd be like, man, I completely forgot about this verse. Like a lot of that. Same with Living Proof too. There's so much material that I haven't performed or haven't gone back and listened to in a long time.
Yeah.
That I've really like forgotten about.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, even the other night at the Mic Check show, this kid's like, man, this is the first time I've seen you perform since the Living Proof days. And it's just, It's crazy to me. When I'm doing the show in Seattle, the headliner's like, man, I remember watching you open up for J. Rue the Damager in Seattle. And it's like a trip to me because I really have been doing music for a long time. Like, and that's the thing. I think just being a figure in the scene before I had an album out. Because like I was Manic D's hype man And when him and Fogatron used to perform at the Greek Cuisina and I was 20 years old and they have to like sneak me in up on stage when like Josh Martinez and Sleep were like the biggest thing in the world in Portland to me, were like huge, you know?
Yeah.
So I think just being a figure in the scene for so long and like just I can remember being the youngest rapper in the city.
Right.
Like me, I can remember me and Only One being the youngest rappers and being like, who are these two kids?
Right.
That everyone's talking about, you know? And I think just being a factor in the city is maybe made it seem like I have more music than I have out, but yeah.
The shoot, lost my thought, man.
I feel like I'm giving you crazy long-winded answers.
No,
so
but
I
it's
hope you
because
don't
but
mind.
it's just it's so, there's so much knowledge though, man. The having gone through the process of doing what you just described, you know, being in the scene before you were an artist. Do you think that's something that's lost on artists nowadays?
In a way, like knowing your history kind of your scene is, because I feel like people just jump in and like automatically want to be like consider themselves the best rapper, and you like they'll put out like 3 SoundCloud songs and now they're the best rapper in the city. So in a way, it's like because people weren't fans of the scene, they don't even know the history. They don't even know that Versatile will take your head off. Right. Or, you know what I'm saying? That there's so many, you know, that Luck One's chilling in the cut and will take your head out. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that are like vicious. How cold like Soul P used to be, Easy McCoy. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many hitters in Portland that are in the cut. Like, so in a way I do, but I feel like that's just kind of natural, and I feel like I've been a victim of that, of like not paying respect to the people that have paved a way for Portland hip hop, when I should have, you know, kind of like feeling like, oh, I'm the man right now, or you know, like I think everyone kind of gets caught up in their own moment and their own hype, and like, but it's important to know like the people who have come before you, like how much Cool Nuts has done through his own career, how much Cool Nuts has done for other people in Versatile and Sleep and all these people that are like international artists that we don't like build up enough. You know, that was one thing I've said to people behind the scenes, is it sucks that like more of Portland hip hop hasn't been documented over the years, because I feel like that's part of the reason why we lack history, is like that we don't have footage from every single hop and like all those amazing sold out events that were happening back in the day. And so it makes it seem like artists who come and sell out a show, they're the first ones to ever do it. You know, no disrespect to anyone who's doing it now, because I think it's amazing how much the scene is like where it's at now. But it's like we also have to pay respect to the people who were really in the trenches, like doing this stuff too. And it's kind of, you know, it's just now it seems like there's so many people documenting the scene, which is something I'm so happy about. Yeah. So many videographers, so many photographers, and that's just kind of like the natural progression of where our social media is. But that's something I've really been happy to see, is like it seems like people are really documenting the artists, like all these shows, and it's cool. And it's even cool to see when I'm out of town, like that, you know, the footage come from all this stuff, and it's not something we didn't always have access to.
I would agree. I mean, I think that does. I mean, it's so cool to be able to jump on YouTube and see classic footage. Of the early days of hip hop. So while we have this opportunity, and since you brought it up, I'm just gonna put it out there right now, so we can have it out there. Cool Nuts, we need you to go ahead and bring Hop back, and we need to document this and bring back some of the classic.
We're 13. Where would we be at? I think it's like
I don't even know, bro.
13 or something like that.
At least. It
would be amazing. I mean, like. Yeah, it would just be amazing. But it's like, it needs to be, the pressure needs to not be all the way on Terrence.
I would agree.
You know, it's like, it's such a big weight to hold. And it's like, man, if we could get someone like Music Fest Northwest, or, you know, to really like invest into our scene and really show the love and show the locals how amazing, even all the new people that are moving here, how amazing our own artists are. Because it's needed. Yeah, we could do, Portland hip hop could do 3-4 sold out nights where Portland artists are headlining.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's one of the things that always frustrates me, is when people are in a position of power and they bring out, you have curators, and they, instead of putting on people from the town, they want to put money in other people's pocket and or only put themselves on. So now you curate a show and you bring 2 artists from out of town and then you put your crew on it.
Right.
So how does that help the scene?
Right. I 100% agree. It's interesting. I see a bit of that. I've had some conversations with people realistically within the last year. I've had conversations with 2 individuals who have said to me, I want to do something for the Portland scene, but I don't know how. I'm not in the Portland hip hop scene. I don't know anything about the Portland hip hop scene.
Interesting.
Would you help me?
Yeah.
And people who have means.
Yeah.
That's where Mic Check came from.
Tight.
People from McMenamins approached me and were like,
that's dope.
and out of that, we have this platform. And then recently, another individual who just asked, again, someone with with some means. So I think it's starting to happen, and maybe it's happening naturally because you have new people looking at situations with new eyes. But I agree that if more of that happened, and if there were more connections made with with true OGs, people that you mentioned, Nuts, Star, Verse, people who have been here, OG. I think some pretty cool things, would definitely come out of that.
Definitely. And there's so much young talent too to be on display, and it's like
Right.
there's no reason why we shouldn't be building that bridge.
Exactly.
It's like they do that in Oakland. It's like everyone still has respect for E40 and Too Short and listens to Larry June and Kehlani and GE. It's like there's no reason why we all shouldn't be benefiting from each other.
Exactly.
We should all be eating together, type of thing.
That cross-generational movement, I think, is really what helps keep things alive.
Yeah, it's essential.
So you came back, you did Mic Check,
Yeah.
came back home, rocked the show.
Shout out to Mic Check. It
Bruh.
was fun.
Bruh.
I had a fun time.
It's one of the things that I hope people get an opportunity to see is, I would just say, study artists who've been doing it for a while. Bruh, your stage presence, bruh.
Awkward laugh. Because it's like I'm a turn into a different person when I'm on stage too. I feel like I'm like pretty much in the cut and like kind of shy when I'm off stage, and then I like turn into a performer.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what reminds me of like if I go through like a period when I haven't performed or something, and then I do a show and I'm like, man, like I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
Like I'm like supposed to do this shit.
It was so cool to just see, because I haven't seen you rock live, and I can't remember last time I seen you rock live.
Yeah.
So that was so dope, and to hear you say that you felt good being on the stage back in Portland was cool.
It did, because it's like, man, all the shows I do are for strangers now. It's like I might have 1 or 2 people that have heard my music before, but last 2 years, all the crowds I performed are for people that I don't know, people that have not heard of me, in different cities I've never been to. Like my whole tour was pretty much cities I'm headlining in cities I've never been to, performing in Atlanta, literally solo, just bought the plane ticket by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff. So it's like, man, it's such a great, I just really cherish the feeling of coming home and looking into the audience, seeing people I know and people knowing my music, and like having a history too. Like if I can talk about soul music and people know what I'm talking about, or I can do respectfully, and people like my friends that I know were like around when I put out that song, or in the crowd, or just whatever, like that's a feeling that, man, feels so good, and like I didn't know I was gonna miss as much when I left. So I just really like, that's why I said thank you so many times to you and everyone, just because like, man, I really am grateful anytime I can travel off music, but especially when I can come back home and like play for the hometown.
That's what's up.
Audience. And it was just a weird, like the way things worked that night was just like weird fate too, like I didn't really tell anyone, but like the night of the show was actually like 12 years to the date of when my mom passed away. So it was like interesting to be in Portland on that day. It's always an emotional day for me, but like God like put me in Portland to be around my family on that day too, which was like really interesting. And I really had to just like channel my emotions that day, and I wasn't feeling well. I had been like sick for a couple of days, and like I don't do it that often, but like I like really said like a prayer before my show, and was just like, asked God to like give me the strength to just like kill the show and just like be with me type of thing, which is like something I don't do enough, you know, but I like felt the need to do it that day, which so it was like a spiritual experience for me kind of.
That's
It was
what's up,
weird,
bro.
man.
That's
It
what's
was
up.
really tight.
That's really cool.
It was really tight.
One of the things that we've sort of talked about with you being back, because doing your set, it was dope to see you had the homie Stu Villain
Yeah.
on the set for you DJing.
Yeah.
So that's that really leads into what you working on, B.
Oh yeah. So we're trying to finish this new album. It's like exclusively produced by Stewart. I think we have like nine in the keeper folder,
Okay.
and like probably like another 7 in the other folder, and then 3 in the to record folder.
Okay.
So we're getting close, man. We're getting really close. It's been my fault. I'm gonna take all the blame for it. It's been my fault because I just my life has been getting in the way, and I've been trying to make sure I was gonna say the right thing and wanting to have the correct thing to say, and just kind of just going through life experiences and like finding myself as a person, finding myself as an artist, and like also wanting to be like really honest with myself too. It's like this weird thing. People always, this is the comment I get the most from people is like, people will either like tell me they like my old music better, or like when they listen to a song and they like it, they'll be like, oh, this kind of reminds me of your old stuff a little bit. This sounds like the old you. And even in the man, I'm like, Cass try to ask for the old Tope back. I don't even know how the old Tope rap. Like, I don't even know how the old Tope, like, that's my old, like I've gone through so much. I can't rap about the same stuff that I used to. I can't even like look at life the way I used to, because it's like my life has changed and I've gone through a lot as a man and as a person. Like, and, so trying to like find that balance of like, how can I please myself, make the music I want to hear, and then also like be honest and open to the point where people like my music, you know, like where they can connect with it too. And my music's always been kind of like revolved around myself and like honesty and life and trials and tribulations and the come up and the struggle and all that. So it's like trying to give people a piece of me in an honest way to where they can relate to and like learn, or like even if it's learning from my mistakes, you know, to like just so we can all do better or whatever, you know. And like that's kind of been my hold up, is like I just want to say the right thing, and I want my production to be crazy too. Like the way production has like been growing so much in the last 2 years is like I want it to sound crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought Broke Boy Syndrome was a good album, and I also don't want to put out an album that's not as good as that.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather just not put out anything
Yeah.
than put out a bad album at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have days where I'm like, I'm just gonna put it out today, and then I have days where I think I'm gonna delete it all, and then I have days where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna finish it and make it amazing.
Yeah. But you know, it's funny because when you talk about your music that way, that is so true, that there's so much depth to the music that you make, and it does seem like oftentimes your music really comes across as a letter to individuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Miss Me When I'm Gone. Mm-hmm. Thank You, which is an amazing song.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Really feel like you are, the music that you're making, you are really speaking to people, to individuals.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that does take time. It does take, if you're going to sit down and write and pen a letter to someone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not something that you just.
And almost like, man, it's like, this is another thing, just like the amount of like serious issues that I've dealt with on a personal level in the last 2 years. It's like, I don't know how to talk about them. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to talk about them without putting people's lives that I care about on blast, mm-hmm. you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's not fair to those people because I care about them. And at the same time, it's not fair to myself because if I can't be truly honest in my music, then it's I'm holding myself back. Mm-hmm. So it's also like finding that balance of like, man, how do I be completely honest? Like sometimes I listen to Drake's music and I'm like, man, it seems like he can just say whatever about anyone in his life, and maybe he's so famous to where it's like it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But it's like I'm not famous, and I have to these are all people I care about, you know, but it's people that are in my life too. And it's like I can't just write people off and like say something on record that may be true and then just like not care. You know, it's like these are the relationships I have to maintain and carry on, and people I care about and love about, but also like people who've hurt me too, and people that I've hurt.
Yeah.
Most definitely, like I'm not the victim too. You know, people I've hurt, people that have hurt me.
Yeah.
Bad decisions I've made. You know, it's like all that stuff, and I guess that's part of it too. Is I just like I don't know how to be completely honest with every experience that I've gone through in the last 2 years. You know?
See, man, I think that's so dope because I think that that's just it's an example of the sort of character that you have. You know, that you do think that you think that process through.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I want to touch on a challenging thing that you experienced recently. You were doing a show, I think it was in LA?
It was in San Francisco,
in
actually.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Had your bag at the merch table, and in your bag was your laptop.
Yeah.
With everything. Everything was on your laptop.
Yeah.
And somebody walked away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Bruh, like how do you even...
It was really bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad. I was like really depressed for like 3 months, like 3 weeks, a month, like really, really like going through depression. And I think even before that it happened, I had just been on like everything I just said, I had been on this borderline of like, what am I going to do with my music? And just facing the challenges of like making music and like, is this what I want to continue to do at my age and like all this stuff, da 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 da, and then trying to like start out the new year on a positive note, having these shows, and then that happening on the first show after I like just murdered the show, like slayed the show, and I get off stage and all my stuff's gone, and I'm just like can't even think, like my adrenaline hadn't even worn off to the point where I like couldn't even process it at first, like what had just happened, you know, like I'm like, first I'm just like, oh, my bag's gone. 20 minutes later, I'm like, my laptop's gone, my car key, everything that was in my stuff is gone, you know, and then the fact of just not getting it back and everything, and it's like, I feel like if you're not an artist, you don't really understand the like hours of your life that you sacrifice, even for the amount of beats that like I'll never put out. There's like hundreds of beats that were on my computer, like songs for the new album, songs for like a project I was working on, produced by myself, that was like kind of, you know, like this other side, like a Trouble Man 2 type of project, unreleased, you know, the last songs we did as T&E before we, you know, stopped making music, Living Proof 3 songs, like all this weird stuff that like I had on my computer, and then just like life memories, you know, my first time going out to New York, my first time going to Philly, all this stuff, like it was just gone. And it's a tough lesson, man.
Yeah.
Really tough lesson. And it just like, I hate to blame it on the Bay, but it's like the Bay is grimy like that, and San Francisco is so grimy like that. It just, I hear so many stories of touring artists getting their stuff broken into, getting their stuff stolen, da 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 da, and it's like, man, it just sucks. It just sucks that it happened the way it did.
Yeah.
But I, you know, I guess I'm trying to like use it as a challenge and like a refresher in a way.
Yeah.
I feel like this is okay, Klyph. This is like another weird thing of like an honest, like, to be completely honest, and I don't think I've ever said this in public, is like, I think before I left Portland, there was a certain time when I started to like glorify material items, and material items became really important in my life, whether it was whatever, clothes, money, having a car, whatever it was. I like started to value material items more than the relationships in my life. And slowly through my move, like everything's been taken away from me, like in that sense of like a lot of things have been stripped of, like a lot of things that I used to value have been stripped from me. And in this way, I feel like it's like God trying to humble me and show me that like you can't praise material things, and like you can't like worship money, and you can't like that can't be your number one goal in life. And yeah, it's like a weird. It's weird that literally the thing that I depended on the most in my life was my stupid laptop. But at that point, you know, that's how I make my money. It's how I make music. It's my therapy and all that. And you know, it was like a life lesson of like all that being stripped from me, to the point where, you know, I had to like depend on my friends to, you know, to like borrow money to like get back on my feet. You know, it's like one of those things I just humbling experience for sure. And I guess just trying to take the positive away from it, I guess it's like I would look at it as God working in my life in a way.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's really
Sucks.
deep.
I mean, it's like besides losing my mom, that was like one of the worst nights of my, like one of the worst events. Yes, as materialistic as that sounds,
Right, right.
but it's like that was one of the worst events probably that's happened to me, like especially as an artist. But you know, trying to use it as a growing process and trying to be a better person from that, you know.
Wow, that's deep.
Because if my laptop wasn't in a Gucci backpack, would it have been stolen?
Right, see? See? There, lesson learned. Chopping up, my man. So, will those sort of concepts and ideas be something that you'll touch on, you think? On
Yeah, definitely. It's like, it's a lot of like spirituality on the album, and like even some, me like, man, asking for forgiveness in a way, I guess, and like kind of like finding a relationship with God in my own way, like growing up with religion around me, and then stuff happening into my life where I was kind of like, well, how can God let this happen, type of thing, and then just being hurt, and like, but then coming around and also being like just trying to like find my own spirituality, like going to, like when I moved to LA, like going to church for the first time in years, and just like being back in church, and like just a lot of like emotions coming through me, you know, which was interesting. And I think that's going to come out through my music too. Yeah. And so like personal, man, personal record too. But then it has like the man. Right. Which is like also, and then like glowed up or whatever. So it's like my music always has that kind of like dual side to it of like, I have like these deep introspective songs, and then I have like these party records or whatever too, you know. So it's like there's two sides to it. But like I said, I think the album tells a story though, like from beginning to end. It shows my mind state where I was at and like where I'm at now. Yeah. Or trying to get. Yeah.
That's dope, man. I know I'm really excited to hear the album, hearing some of the stories, some of the experiences that you've had over these last couple of years, and then to be able to hear you express that musically through your craft. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Nervous and excited. Yeah. It's gonna be good though.
So I just noticed, Tope, in the last, I don't know, it seems like in the last 6 months or so, maybe, that the Living Proof social media has been a little bit more active.
Yeah. Mainly that's my fault. I just use it for extra promo. But no, I'm going to keep it real. We were supposed to have a Living Proof reunion at the Portland Mic Check.
Word?
Yeah, we were going to do Devotion and Full Speed.
Bruh.
I know. And Prem, something happened where he was selling his house in Seattle, and he had to like leave like a day before.
Oh,
so
sad.
It was actually like kind of sad, because that was gonna be like one of my, besides Farnell, that was gonna be my surprise, is we were gonna do Living Proof reunion, and I don't even remember the last time we've been on stage, you know, done those songs together or whatever. So that was kind of frustrating, but it
wow, that would have been crazy, bro. Yeah,
and we were gonna do the Chalk song that he produced because he was there and everything, and it was gonna be really dope. It was gonna be really dope. But Jim Prem is been kind of rejuvenated, and like him and Stuart have been, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but him and Stuart have been working on some music together. That's really cool. And Prem has always been, I don't think people like know, but he's always been a very musical person, and early on was like a huge influence in me making music up until like high school. You know, like from high school, like he rapped way back in the day and was like always an influence on my music, and always a really talented person, and I think another person that didn't get enough credit. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they do together, because I just hearing the rough drafts, it's very different, and it's not like rap.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like kind of like R&B singing stuff, and it's really
word.
cool. It's just cool to hear what direction they're going in.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I know I've had an opportunity to hear some of the new stuff that Stuart's working on.
oh my gosh, that's another story. Stuart's new stuff is like next level. I'm really excited for him, like, because I just think so many people can connect to that type of music.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily in the hip hop genre, and I am just excited for him to like put that stuff out.
Yeah.
Again, just another extremely talented person.
Yeah. And another good person. And I'm not gonna say he hates, but I always be trying to show him love, and he'd be like, man.
Yeah, he's just yeah.
Stu's a good guy. I'm gonna just say it.
He's in the cut.
Guy. Yes, definitely.
I don't know how to describe it.
So it's been a long time since like I said, I've had an opportunity to see you rock a stage in Portland.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense yet of when the album might drop?
Hoping for the summer. I mean, I've always been like a put out my music in the summer type of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I can't guarantee it though, because I said that last summer when I was going on tour. I was gonna drop a project.
The reason I ask it like that is because it would be I would be very happy if it wasn't another year
or two
we got to see you rock in Portland again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's close. It's like right there. You just have to like round it out basically.
Yeah.
And like do some post-production stuff. Like I'm having Farnell play on most of the album. And like I want to have maybe like Tony Ozier and some other musicians kind of like just fatten it up.
Yeah.
Put some more live instrumentation. Those have been my favorite albums lately, is like the records that have like all the Chance's stuff, No Name, Smino, like all those albums that show a lot of musicianship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want my music to sound like. So there's just a lot of work to be done.
But that fits. I think that fits your style really, really well.
Yeah.
When you have live musicians on your stuff.
I wish Farnell could come with me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could just put Farnell in my bag.
Yeah.
Because we would kill it. Like, bro, in Atlanta, oh my God, having Farnell in Atlanta at my shows, we would have just destroyed it. And in the Bay, like we would just kill it. Like it would be over. And especially if we kind of just kept on that wave of like not necessarily jazz rap, but like that kind of vibe.
It'd
be game over, man. It'd be really tight.
You and how many other artists would wish that Farnell?
True. Yeah, true. I guess I'm lucky enough that he actually returns my text when I call him. Shout out to Farnell, man. He's like, so I don't know how he does it. He's a busy guy and just stays knocking out music for everyone.
Yeah.
And like always, I've never seen him I've seen him one time be upset. You know what I'm saying? Like always in good spirits, good energy.
Yeah, definitely. One of those artists for me who I felt like, I always look at myself as I'm just some guy, like you know what I mean, but always very welcoming, always, embraced me right away.
Yeah.
Returns my texts, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely a good guy. It's one of the things about Portland, I will say, man. A lot of good people in the city. A lot of just genuinely good people in the city.
I always thought Farnell hated me back in the day. Like,
really?
I don't know why, just for no reason.
Yeah.
I was just intimidated by him. Like
okay.
I watched up I used to watch Farnell play at Jimmy Max like with Liv Warfield and be in the audience and be like, man, this guy's so tight. And then from doing Dookie Jam and being the kid that kind of just popped up but no one really knew, and the only person that would show me love was Tony.
Yeah.
And just kind of working my way into that scene. And then I remember one night even telling Farnell, I'd be like, man, I thought you said, he'd be like, what? Oh, you cool. It's just that's just my own perception. Man, I don't think the old dudes like me. But and then we end up being hella good friends. Even when Farnell was on tour with Jill, came out to Oakland and got some food, come kick it or whatever.
That's what's up.
It's dope to always good to connect with people from Portland and other cities too. It's always fun.
Yeah. I'd probably be remiss if we didn't at least touch on it. There's unfortunately, in my opinion, some negativity that you can sort of, it's almost palpable in the air in Portland right now in the
Mm-hmm.
scene, and um, based on oftentimes a lack of communication. And I'm real big on communication. I think when we don't communicate,
Yeah,
that's where we start to lose ground.
definitely.
Um, Again, as an artist who came up here, I mean, this is home for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do we avoid letting those sorts of things get in the way of what we've been building here?
I think just always trying to look at the bigger picture
Mm-hmm.
and like realizing that just to not get caught up in some of the small issues and like being thankful for what you do have in your situation instead of like looking at the people. And this is something I even have to get better about myself is like instead of focusing on the people that don't support you, focus on the people that do,
Mm-hmm.
and do your best to bring positivity to every situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't use your platform to bring another person down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. And I think the less you sweat the small stuff, the happier you'll be.
Mm-hmm.
The less you take things personal in music, the when you learn to not take things personal in music, I think the happier you'll be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, and for me, it's like one of those things. When I moved, it's like a lot of the little stuff that I used to stress about or people's opinions I used to care about, it just became like I realized it didn't really matter so much. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like being in high school when you're like trying to impress the seniors, and then you're a senior and you're like, wait, this isn't even cool.
Yeah.
The juniors and sophomores are having more fun than us.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like appreciate. And this is something I've tried to tell Blossom, and she probably gets annoyed when I tell her this, but I just try and tell her like, don't be in a rush and just appreciate your moment. Like appreciate right now, because like you have it, like it's so much fun. Like, and even like that's something maybe I wish I would have done in my time in Portland, is just like, man, appreciate the time that we're having here.
Yeah.
Appreciate this T&E time. Appreciate living proof, and don't be in such a hurry to jump to the next step,
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna come. Like if it's meant to be, and like your music is, you work hard and like you're a good person, it's gonna happen for you. And like don't rush it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, have fun with where you're at now, and like I don't know if that answers the problem, the question to the thing, but it's mainly
Words of wisdom.
I would
man.
say just like, man, just try and be positive to your next person. And like I said, don't use your platform to bring someone else down. And that goes for everyone's platform.
Yeah.
And these are words also that like I need to live by as an artist too. So I'm like giving myself advice too, because I haven't always been, I haven't always reacted the smartest way. I've been emotional in times with my music and hurt people that I care about and said stuff that I didn't mean to, and as much as I would like to think that I've helped bridge the gap in the scene and make the scene better, there's been times when I've hurt it too, in a way of having my own issues with people and just it being something small, but like me like, oh, I'm not messing with this art, you know, like, and it's so dumb. And at the end of the day, it's like, man, we're all from Portland, we're all from the same city, we all have the same dream, we're all like trying to fill something in our life that maybe isn't there, and then we're like using music as an expression. And we're all like, the more I realize, like we're all kind of like hurt, like kids in hip hop. It's like something's happened in your life that like you feel like you need to tell your story, or like feel like you need to express yourself in that way. And it's like, man, we're all, the more we get to know each other, it's like the more similar we are.
Yeah.
And like even though I have trouble trusting other people, and like I think a lot of artists have trouble trusting other artists, it's like we all have the same goal. So it's crazy to see someone hate on someone.
Yeah.
Even when I felt like people have hated on me, it's like it's crazy to think that people would hate on me, like this kid who came from little to nothing from Portland, Southeast Portland, to like go to New York, have my name in places I never thought I would be, and be like representing the P the whole time, and then have people like hate on me from my own city.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy, man. Like I'm one of you guys. Like
Yeah.
remember when I was remember when like you guys liked me, and like I was like the up and coming kid, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm still the same, came from the same place, and it's like, but it's just people put their own projections on other people, and I've been guilty of that too. Put their own insecurities on other people, and like confuse their love with hate and feel a certain way. You
Yeah.
know, like it's, I don't know, it just happens, man. It
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. And it's like I feel like I've been on both sides of the coin, to keep it real. Yeah.
Wow, it's deep. The work that you're doing outside of being an artist,
Yeah.
is that for public consumption?
Yeah. For
Okay,
sure.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So,
So
go
yeah.
ahead.
So like when I moved to the Bay, I pretty much kind of the reason why I haven't fully 100% launched it is I haven't come up with a name that I really like for the business, which sounds so funny, but I've kind of like
Dude,
it's like I haven't gone into like the 100% branding because I don't have a name that I like, because I don't want it to be like show and show PR, you know.
right.
But so basically, since I moved, well, before I moved, I've always been kind of like, I was always the like press release manager type person for my own acts for Living Proof for T&E, and then with Broke Boy Syndrome. Oh, and then working with let's see, around the time after Trouble Man, I put out a song with Scarab, and it was on DJ Booth, and it was my first time getting on like a national publication. Really, shout out to DJ Booth. And Dom Kennedy's former publicist in LA hit me up, heard the song, hit me up, and was like, "Yo, we want to work with you." Blah blah blah. I flew to LA, had dinner with them. We did like a 2-month campaign. Right around the time the Erica video came out, and right when T&E got on Double XL, I included T&E in the campaign. I said, well, here's my group, we're gonna do this too. And so I kind of like watched their model a little bit, what they did, and then was doing my PR independently before that. And then from there, I just kind of kept looking at other people's situation, building my own PR. And then before I moved to the Bay, people were always asking me like, oh, how do you do this? And then when I moved, I was like, maybe I should start offering this as a service, like, you know, trying to help people out with their press releases and submitting to blogs. And pretty much the demand when I like mentioned that was through the roof, like crazy. Just like numbers wise, I know so many artists, and I know a handful of publicists,
right?
You know, and it was like I didn't want to get a job when I moved to the Bay. I wanted to like be able to have the freedom to do because that's what I moved down there, was like be able to have the free schedule to move around, do music, do this, do that. And so that was kind of a way of me, one, staying involved in the music, helping other people, and to be able to eat too, you know? So, and it just kind of slowly started from like a few clients, and then it's just been growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And, you know, like I think behind the scenes, I've like helped like a lot of the artists that are popping important. Like I've like helped a lot of them get their first look outside of the city, which has been dope. It's been really cool. It's kind of like a double-sided coin too, because it's like no one ever wants to say thank you to their publicist or admit that they paid for someone to help them out. Right. So it's kind of like PR is kind of like a thankless job. You kind of have to like just remember that no one's gonna like give you a shout out or like thank you for the hard work that you do. And I think that some people don't know how hard I actually go for them behind the scenes. Like all these contacts are people that, you know, essentially I've made through my music first. So it's like I'm sharing your music with all these relationships with these people that I have all over the world, really. And I think sometimes, every once in a while, I think an artist will be like resentful because they're not getting on the site that they want to. But I'm like, man, you just don't know how hard I'm trying for you. Like you don't know how hard I'm going to bat for you behind the scenes. And like, it took me 5, 6 years to get onto Dope Boys. And it wasn't until Blue started talking about my music that I got onto Dope Boys, you know, and Shake thought I was from LA and all this stuff, you know. It was like this whole, but I literally had sent Shake every single one of my songs since probably Full Speed or something like that, you know. Like I had his email forever, and he didn't care about me until I had a Blue feature. You know, so it's like that's something I try and tell people is like, man, it just takes time too. It's like a building process. But I've had a lot of success first time campaigns with people getting on national, you know, Revolt, DX, Vibe, you know, like all these like pretty awesome sites. And like, man, if that's, I don't know, if that's like something I can do to help contribute to the scene, and even if no one knows, or even if I never get the credit, it's
Right.
like I know it, like
Yeah.
the artists that I know deep down, I hope that they know
Yeah. Yeah.
that like that I'm like a contributing factor to the reason why their music's being heard in these places.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up, my man Tope. Um, bro, it was just good to catch up, man.
Yeah. It's good as
So
anything.
good to catch up, bro.
For real.
Um, so of course you have a central location that people can get connected with you. It's tope.com.
Yep.
Um, what else do people need to be checking for from you?
Man, just yeah, with the two new singles, The Man, and Thank You, are on Spotify and Apple Music and Bandcamp, anywhere you can buy music. Yeah, and just keep a lookout for the new releases. Like, hopefully I'm gonna drop some visuals and some more singles. And there was part of me that was like, maybe I just put out this album like singles. Like, maybe the way that like the way music is now is like, maybe I'll just put out a song every month and like
Mhm.
try and ride that wave. But I think after checking in with my fan base, they want an album.
Yeah.
They're like, they want a project, and I think I'm kind of one of those project artists.
Yeah.
That it's like you kind of want to hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man. Hopefully, just trying to get back to the Bay and focus on finishing the project, and probably need to like chill on doing little shows for a little bit until I can get this done and like have some product.
Word.
Yeah.
Word. That's what's up.
Yeah.
My man Tope. It's tope.com. It's Tope all over social media.
Yeah, pretty much. It's Tope. I couldn't get the real Tope tag for some reason.
Yeah.
Like some random person that's tweeted one time. So
Yeah, no,
ITSTOPE. Come holler at me.
that's what's up. Once again, man, big ups to my man Tope for taking time.
Yo,
on his
shout out to
trip home.
Klyph, and shout out to DJ OG1 right now. Like, much love and respect to OG1, and all power and prayers to him and his family right now. Something I wanted to say.
Amen for that.
Yeah.
For sure. Be sure to follow us all over social media. Hit up the website djklyph.com. Be on the look. This may be the first Klyph Notes that will include some visuals. Big ups to Tope on the idea for that.
Wow.
God bless you all until we get an opportunity to do this again.
Till the next time we meet.
Peace.